Hey everyone, Scar for a Scar here. I'm really excited today because I have with me the winner of not only one ProQuest but two consecutive back-to-back ProQuests, Auckland and Whangarei, Lucas Ward. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing real good. It was a pretty crazy weekend, eh?
Oh man, you must be starting to feel like the main character of a movie or something, eh?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny because I made the final last weekend, like at sushi night, and I was like, I'll go up to Auckland. I don't know, like, if, I don't think I'd do very well, but I just like couldn't live with myself if I didn't have the chance to qualify. But to be
Yeah.
fair, we turned out pretty well.
Okay, how did the finals in Wellington go?
Oh, I just got rolled by Starvo, eh? I haven't tested the Starvo matchup a whole lot. I tested it a few times over the last week just to prepare for Auckland. But it was my first ever loss to Savo, and I was like, I just didn't know what was happening. It was terrible.
How do you feel about that matchup? Because I think the community's kind of split between it being Starvo favoured and Prism favoured. There's like a lot of conflicting opinions on that. Where do you stand on it?
Well, I don't have the sample size to like make a definitive statement, but it's like I think it's pretty Prism favored. Like they both have very like strong proactive strategies, but I think that like with if the Prism can find D-Reacts, she can largely deal with the Starvo strategy, but he has a much harder time clearing auras. Of course, like it's quite actually an even matchup, but I think and both decks are quite luck based as well. Like if you just double aura every turn on Prism, you're not going to lose. But if you Starve activation every turn, you're not going to lose. But I think it's pretty close. But I think Prism has the edge. You know.
Yeah, Guardians typically have not had the best matchup with Prism. Just not being able to go wide, deal with the auras effectively.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So like, I played a lot of Guardian this weekend, which is what I was expecting. Like I know Aucklanders love control. It was a
Uh,
much easier for field for Prism than Wellington was. But yeah, Savo sort of has that like inherent go again. But the thing is, like, if you're just evergreen for nine, it's largely ignorable until it's lethal. And so, like, evergreen for nine into Hammer Popanora is a really strong line. But if they're not getting the Oaken fuses, I find that like Prism's practice strategy would largely get there like, in time to deal with Savo. But yeah,
yeah, so he was happy to take the 9 damage, start of the game, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So like, I mean, it depends on your hand, obviously, but like, yeah, like you play some D-React to prevent leak, like um, Soul Shield, and actually play Springboards for Starvo. It just means that you're not leaking. If your turn isn't a really strong proactive turn, you won't leak heaps. But if I have a double aura and like life totals are even like above 15 or whatever, I'll just go absolutely ham, take it. I don't care. It's like it's really the Okins that you have to worry about.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the threats, that and the other big Guardian attacks
Yeah,
you got to
yeah,
worry about.
like Spinal is really good in the matchup. But like I found a few subbers I played against this weekend would make the mistake of just playing a spinal without an activation and not hitting an aura, and it's like yeah, like you're preventing one turn of me coming in with the shields or the auras, but you're not actually like my game state I do care about your life total, but I care much more about my board state, and so like yeah, the Oaken is huge because it attacks your hand. It just means that like it time walks you and you leak heaps, and so you can't like push out that board state. You know?
Yeah, man. So I'm glad you brought up the springboard somersault because I'm gonna have the deck going across the screen as we talk.
Yeah,
Um, like we don't need to go over the deck. Everyone's familiar with the deck, but springboard somersault and fractal repercussions, I think
yeah.
it's called.
Fractal's a weird one, eh? But like Springboard, I picked because into Savo, like if it was if Savo wasn't in the meta, I would just play Fate Facine instead because it's Fate Facine is just a much better card into the matchups where you want to be playing really control, like Briar and Chain. But Springboard does largely a similar job. And then uh, in like into Savo, I was finding that like especially with the red unmovables in the deck as well, I was finding I wasn't be able to like I would draw hands and I wouldn't be able to play out like all my auras really quickly. And so like I said um you like a fate scene on a dominated attack from hand isn't actually that strong because you're like you don't care about leak for most of the game. You just want to get a board set out. And so I felt like the difference between a red and a yellow in this deck is just unbelievable. Like I mean, like red cards suck in most decks, but this one like having reds is just, I hated red so much. I was considering cutting miraging metamorph. Like that's how much I hate reds in this deck. And so the springboard just means like if you draw like a hand of yellow auras, you can pitch away the springboard to play the auras out and just keep your proactive momentum going rather than like just sacking it all if you draw like a sync or a fate, you know?
Yeah, it's a interesting card, Springboard. It seems like it's like the perfect fit for Prism. You know, just being a yellow zero cost defense react, and if you slot in the arsenal, it can just block for four.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like Wellington Prisms have been on and off it for a very long time. I first played against it like against aggro hero decks when I was playing Dorinthia in Monarch meta.
Yeah,
And I've always liked the card, but I think the consensus is at the moment to be off it. Um, but like just because it's so much weaker in the matchups like Chain and Briar where you just want the block, but I just find that like in the matchups where you really want to be playing your auras out, like D reacts are clearly really good into Savo, but if you just clog your deck full of red defense reactions, you're not going to have the proactive hands that you need to build a board state before you die. Like it's just like stemming the bleeding rather than actually having a good proactive plan, you know?
so is it safe to say that when the season comes to an end, Starvo's Living Legend, the Springboard's most likely coming out,
Yeah,
Fates
yeah.
go back in, depending
Well,
on how the meta shapes up, of course.
yeah, yeah. Definitely depends on the meta. But I imagine that'll be the case because some amount of yellows come out in the sideboard anyway, and so just I think if Prism's gonna exist in like the Phi aggro meta, you're gonna need the zero foot like play a lot more controlling and Springboard just isn't very good when you're trying to like play this more controlling slow game plan.
I love how you call it the fire aggro meta when most likely probably just going to be the Islander control meta, right?
Oh yeah, well if it's I still the control meta. Yeah, well Springboards don't seem very good into her either, so
be,
they'll probably get
be
cut.
interesting to see what the most dominant deck is coming out of the gates.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But I'm like concerned as a Prism player. I think I'm gonna have to pick up a new deck.
I mean, there's another illusionist coming out. Might not be that much of a change. You could just
Yeah, yeah, true, true.
go from popping out these little auras. You can turn them into big dragons.
Big dragons. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do like dragons. I mean, who doesn't? And then like the other card was Fractal.
Yeah, so
Um,
I'm not too familiar with prisons, but I know like a lot of people I've talked to, people they just wrote the card off, like oh it's garbage.
well, actually, I when I was in Auckland for the last Proquest season, when J-Lai like it was the first time I'd seen the deck when J-Lai played it, and I joked
Yeah,
with him because I knew Fractal sucked, and I said for ages Fractal sucked. I joked with him, oh, you have Fractal in the sideboard for the mirror, and he just laughed it off. But what we found was there was the first ProQuest in Palmy. There was the first Wellington one,
yeah,
and a lot of out of towners played a much more aggressive Prism strategy, and it was really good in the mirror. Like it was just very strong. They went much harder into it, like with Enigma Chimera and Phantasmaclasm and shit. And I don't think that's worth it. But it is quite a strong, powerful card. Like the mirror is so weird. It's the weirdest matchup in the game, I think. But like the reason I have 9 Prism Tech cards in my sideboard, which I think was a very good call for day one, but a very terrible call for day two in Auckland, because I just wanted to have the stronger deck for the mirror. And like Fractal can be so punishing, because when you're ahead, you just want to end the game, and when you're behind, you just want to. When you're behind, Fractal just gives you this out of like being able to play like erudition, they block it, and then Fractal, and you just can absolutely go off. So like it just gives you this out from behind, where you can like have these massive go wide turns that clear massive amounts of shields. It's obviously like a zero cost healed is absolutely insane, but it's really inconsistent. But you know, it in the mirror it tends to work a lot because and you can do some weird shit where they like if you erudition and they block and you can gain the effects of the other cards and like buff the power of your erudition and stuff. It's like it's definitely a card I'm unsure on and haven't played with a whole lot, but I just wanted to be 100% sure I had the best deck in the mirror because I knew that if the field was going to be all Guardian, then then I'd see Prism at the top table, which is like exactly what happened day one. Like there were 4 Prisms in the field and 3 of them made top cut, and I played 2 of them in top cut, and I think I just had the better deck for the matchup.
Yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit more about some of the other cards that you have? I mean, just off the top of my head, I know you got the yellow Raging Onslaughts. I believe they might be rare. I'm 99% the yellow.
Yeah, they're yellow. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no way I'm playing red A.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe
I-
if Herald of Judgment was a better card, but that card's really bad. Yeah, or Herald of Triumph. I mean,
Yeah,
but
nah,
yeah,
that's quite
yeah.
quite a. Yeah, right. I remember when Prism first started, kind of taking the scene. Like people were playing around Triumph, and then it kind of just
Yeah,
dropped off.
well, I mean, like, yeah, well, especially now that Ultimate and Bravo have these 8 power attacks in like Thunderquake and Mucho and Glacial, right? It's just kind of
Yeah, it
useless.
just
Like before,
does
people
nothing.
could play CNC and stuff and all that, and they just
Brutal
at,
assault.
and Brutal Assault. So yeah,
Yeah.
people played CNC, Brutal Assault. That they were on some weird ass shit, you know, like Nourishing Emptiness to try and pop. But like
Yeah.
now, like the aggressive decks just don't care about popping you, right? Like they'll just go hard. And like Runic was a big card to make Triumph really bad. But yeah, it's
I
a
mean,
yellow Raging.
Runix is cracked. Like
Yeah,
the fact that it's 7 is good, but like its effect is pretty crazy too.
Yeah,
In the right
like
spot.
it's an on hit, right? But the thing I found into Runeblades is because I actually in the Runeblade matchups sideboard out all my no block auras except for Parable um and Arclight, obviously, and
Yeah.
so it's actually like a really interesting one because half the time they play Runic, they like especially as Chain, I'm just never like barely ever have an aura in play. And so it's just 3 for 7, and like I just see it banished all the time, and like pitched to make their bloody mutated masses bigger or whatever. It's like it's really funny because they bring in this tech card and they think it's going to be so good, and then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to fatigue you and play like 2 auras over the course of the entire game, you know. But yeah, Runic is a good card. It's definitely strong, but yeah, like the yellow raging for sure because yeah. I mean, Triumph is it's crap, and yellows are absolutely broken in this deck.
Yeah.
And then the first card that you can't play the Prism Mirror without this card is Prismatic Shield. Like
Oh,
it's
okay.
just so broken in the mirror. It's like it's not amazing into like decks that are playing really hard hero aggro, but I think those decks are really bad. So I didn't really check for them that much because like I mean, if you're playing against Guardian as healed aggro, you're just going to lose. So I won't see you in the 1-0 bracket, you know?
Okay, that's interesting about the prismatic shields. My first impression was I've played. I don't think I've played a prism in my life. I kind of just assumed that you play the card against guardians as well. Just
I sort of, I mean, I play it into Ultimate and Showstopper, but I wouldn't tick for those matchups, say, because they're so close to
it's
auto
already
wins
favourable.
already.
Yeah.
So that was the thing, right? Like, I have 2 cards in my sideboard dedicated for Guardian, and that's the 2 unmovables for Starvo. And like, if I could sideboard more for Starvo, I definitely would. But you don't want to fuck up your proactive plan in that matchup at all. You just want to be like zeroing in, playing auras, going hard. But so you can only really play the 2 red unmovable. But aside from Starvo, the other Guardians are such a wash that I just didn't even I didn't pay any attention to like I said, I expected the Auckland meta to be lots of Guardian, and so my conclusion was that from that was play 9 Prism sideboard cards because I would see Prism at top table.
You better be careful. You hope Kale isn't listening here because he's solved the Prism matchup.
He was talking a lot of shit on the weekend, eh?
Yeah, mate. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
the matchup sold according to my last deck tech.
Yeah, he was real close. Well, I mean, he shouldn't have. The thing is, he shouldn't have told me what his plan was. It's like, oh, I'm gonna bait them into arc lighting, and then I'm gonna skip his pulverize. I'm like, okay, I just won't do that.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, it works.
yeah,
It works.
I don't know. Like I'll be honest. I'm really impressed with that showstopper deck, and I was really impressed with Dennis's aggro ultim deck. They put me under a lot more pressure than I thought they would.
Yep.
Because I haven't even tested the Guardians that much because I've never found the matchup difficult as a Prism player. But yeah, I was really impressed with how aggressive the Guardians could be this weekend. But they never quite got their A. Even the Starbows, they just didn't have enough to overwhelm the shields, the auras.
Yeah, I mean, I could say that Kale's Guardian was probably one of the most interesting decks in the whole room.
Yeah, well,
The day that I was there.
Yeah, I played against someone on a very similar showstopper list, and he got me to like 8 life or something. But once you get like an Ode and see a Metamorph, you'll just
Yeah,
kill them
see
with
you,
your
mate.
board, right? Yeah. Like as soon as you start pulling cards, it doesn't matter. Like Kale's whole thing. Like I had a very different like strategy going into day 2 into the Guardians because like they'd gotten me so low in day 1. I was like, there's no way I lose this matchup as long as I don't die, I win. Like if
That's a good strategy
life
there.
totals, yeah, well, yeah. Well, as long as life totals remain high, I'll be fine. I'll win in the long game with auras. So I like day 1, I did the classic Prism strategy. I'll just take all the damage and play out my auras. But I played a lot more conservative in day 2 because I just felt like if there's a 10% chance of them beating me, it's because they kill me in the first 5 turns, and so I'm gonna block a bit more, and then eventually I'll get there with the auras, because I don't need a board amazingly quickly into Showstopper and Ultim because
I mean, time's your friend, right?
yeah, time's my friend. I'm gonna win in the long game, so there's no chance.
Did you notice much difference between day 1 and day 2? Obviously, day 1 was in Auckland. Day 2 was about 2.5 hours away. I mean, a lot of Auckland players were there, but was it different or was it much the same?
Well, yeah, like I don't know. Like, okay, day 1 I was like very stressed because I just gotten off a flight that morning and I really wanted to win because I just wanted to go to the Pro Tour. And it's bit like there was no food near the venue either, and I'd barely eaten that day.
Oh man!
And I was just exhausted, and I was really stressed. Day 2, I was like chill because I was like, it doesn't matter if I lose, and so I and
playing with house money basically.
yeah, playing with house, but I just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah,
and
just
so,
built different. You just don't care.
well, like I started like really trying in round 4 because of day 2 because I got my the opponent who beat me in the final at Sushi Night the previous weekend, and I was like, I'm gonna get some revenge.
Oh, who was that?
That was Sean Stanley. He's a Fungare Stavo. He was on Stavo both.
Oh, okay. Was he there in day 1?
He wasn't there day 1. No.
Okay.
But yeah, like mostly I noticed like they had a more aggressive field, and also like more of their Guardian players were on Stavo. But like once I got to the like round 2, round 3, round 4, it was a very similar field, except there was no Prism. And I was worried about that because, I have 9 Prism sideboard cards. But it turns out I just played like Guardians all day. Like my stressful game that day was in the quarters against Alexi. And I think that's quite a favourable matchup without much sideboard tech as well. Right, so I wanted to change the fractals to fates because I expected there to be less Prism day 2, but I didn't have my cards with me because my folder doesn't fit in my bag. So
So you just winged it with what you
I
had.
just played the fractals and never sided them
YOLO.
in. But yeah, like the play quality was was high both days. I was really impressed specifically with the 2 chain players. I had day 1, Eddie Kim and CJ. I don't know his last name.
Oh yeah, they're
but,
the local fan favourites.
Yeah, they're. I mean, both awesome guys, but they both played their games real well. Actually, Eddie was my one loss the entire weekend because he had the 3rd goddamn lead.
The one that got away.
Yeah, I can't stop thinking about that. 15-1 doesn't ring quite the same as 16-0.
16-0, baby.
But yeah, CJ and I played in the quarters on day one.
Yeah, that was a game I was
And
gonna record, and then
but it was an hour and a half of both of us just tanking.
yeah.
That was the hardest, one of the hardest games I've ever played. Like he would do one thing, and I'd just pick up his banish zone and try and figure out what the hell he was doing on his turn. But I managed to line up like a double parable on the turn he tried to eclipse
Oh,
me, which meant he
dirty.
had to play a Shadow of Ursa and a blue bounding for 0 to turn on his Ursa.
Oh
And like I
man,
think
that's
and
just
I
so much
ended the
good. That's so
yeah,
much
yeah.
value for you.
And I ended the game at 2 life. So
Oh,
it was massive. Yeah, it was like that was a
close
really hard
game
game.
then.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like I don't think you can play the aura plan A, but I also didn't like if I have one regret from my sideboard, I just didn't put enough respect into the chain players because I could have like in America I think they were playing like fucking sigil and shit to try and beat chain and all that, and like I definitely could have done that. Like I know Fano Black was like on Crown of Affliction as the headpiece instead of Skullcap, and I think that's because he was on sigils and like Tome of Findal, and he was gaining so much life that his Skullcap was never on. So
Okay.
I put the Crown in like not
Yeah.
only I'd never played with Crown before until day one, but I was like this is probably a better Prism card than Fractal, and then also I might play it into Chain. But I sort of decided when I was sat down against Eddie Kim, I was like, oh, I see why he played like Crown over Skullcap because he was gaining like fucking heats of life, and so his Skullcap was never on.
Okay.
But yeah,
So
yeah.
did you end up playing with the crown much then over the weekend?
It was really good in the Prisoners. Like
Ah,
you
nice.
need one piece of Null in that matchup anyway.
Yeah.
I was on gloves before, because well, just you like when you have a big field of shields, the way you lose them is immersible if you don't have the tech, and so one piece of Nolan is incredibly important. And the crown does that, and then you can still play the Ironhide for the block on erudition, which is pretty much what Skullcap's for.
Yeah.
In fact, Ironhide's better because it always blocks for 2, and Skullcap sometimes blocks for 1. And then like you have these sweet lines. Like if you're quite ahead, you can pop an aura on their side, and then get the action point back with Crown to play your own blue aura out of hand, and like it's essentially like double auraing and playing an aura, and you can just get really far ahead on it. I was really impressed with that. Um, yeah, definitely a hard card to play with though. I picked it up in my game against Darren, and it was my first Prism game of the day. And I flipped it over, and I was like, "All right, time to read this," because
Do you think that Prism in a nutshell is maybe one of the like harder heroes to play in the game?
I was thinking about that day because I definitely didn't play her perfectly this weekend. Like because I mean Fungaday was recorded, and I was on top table, so I was on stream quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I rewatched some of my games, and there were definitely some misplays in there. But I think that was largely me just being an idiot. Like I think the deck was incredibly hard, when there weren't any blue auras. But now I think the proactive strategy is a bit easier. Like you still have like fundamentals like soul management and stuff like that. But the deck is hard, right? Like Fab's just a really hard game. But
Yeah.
I think like largely if the matchups and the draws are there, she's not incredibly hard, you know. But you definitely need a lot of reps though, because it's a bit counterintuitive sometimes. Like
I think that
like
goes with a lot of decks though. You just have to play a deck so many times because there's just small lines that you'll
yeah,
miss.
yeah. Well, especially the mirror, like you need to know exactly when to like hold a shield at end of turn in case they flash in a Genesis or whatever. Like that's how I got Darren in our semi final. He hadn't had as much reps on the matchup as I had, and like he got me way down on life early because I misplayed and let him erudition me because I was blocking out to try and keep a field of shields, and then he tunic erudition. And I'm like, oh my god, I was so sleepy after that hour and a half um, quarterfinal. I just missed it, but I got him in the late game because I had built up this massive soul, and I knew that his way to and I had some auras in play, and he just found it really, really difficult to get rid of my auras because without a soul, he couldn't make a shield to pop them. And if he plays out a 4-cost aura to try and pop one of my auras, then he just gives me 4 cards of tempo when I'm at 10 life. So I got him by just holding a shield at the end of turn all the time, and then he could never play the Genesis to get a soul going.
Yeah.
And like I think he had an arsenal for ages, and then eventually he played it out on his own turn to pop one of my auras because it's that far down on soul, and he didn't get a trigger on it. So it was like, yeah, it's
That's
definitely
just incredible value there.
yeah, exactly. So there's like lots of little lines. But like the thing about Prism is, especially now, is that her macro strategy is really easy. Like you win in one way into almost every matchup, and that's just get auras in play.
Just aura
And
dump.
so prior to like knowing, like I played Duinti a lot before this, which she's garbage, and like oh my god, I love Dori, but she's bad.
Pour one out for my girl.
But
Yeah.
but but the hard part about Doi, like I could play those lines with my eyes closed, but it was like figuring out how you're actually gonna win the game, like stacking and then like figuring out when to play for tempo and stuff. And there's way less of that in Prism, I find, because you know the game state that you're playing towards, which is just big board. And once you have that, it's really hard to lose. So yeah, it's definitely a deck that requires a lot of reps. But like you don't need to stack that much. You know, you usually are going to have the board by first cycle. You know, it's a very it's definitely like it's a punishing deck to fuck up. But yeah, I would definitely put like Oldham in a higher category, and Kano is much harder and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think definitely Kano would
Yeah, I
have to
mean,
be
yeah,
the
obviously Kano,
hardest.
but
Yeah.
like Chain is like one of the hardest as well.
Just
Like
combo
again, like
decks, eh?
mad,
There's just
mad,
so many lines that you gotta
yeah,
think
yeah.
of every
Well, just
different
like
possibility.
yeah, just like mad respect for CJ and EDA, just like working through those lines.
Yeah, man, they're
Like they
good,
played
man.
really well.
CJ got me round one, man. I was really close. I think I remember telling you after the game. Basically, all I had to do was activate the grass before I
Oh
revel.
yeah,
And
yeah, and
yeah,
oh that was tragic, eh? Oh my god.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, what made you want to play Prism? Like, obviously, you were already on Prism because you were playing it prior to coming down. But was there any consideration to play anything else for the meta, or were you kind of just hard stuck? Like, I'm going to play Prism.
I kind of wanted to play Briar, but I'm not a very good player. Like I don't think I can just pick up a deck and do well. But I think
Humble.
well, no, I just think it's facts though. Like I think I get my edge because I play a lot more than almost every other player. You know, so like why would I give up my reps? Like that's the main thing that I have going for me to play a different deck. I was really tempted to play Briar, really really tempted, and I think I probably should have done that because she's fucking easy, mate. She's really good. Like,
Damn, bro. I went one in three with it, one in three drop.
she was a really bad medical for Auckland because
Yeah.
of all the Guardians. So like I was really like I was tempted to play Briar in Wellington, like very very tempted on that day that I came second.
Yeah.
But I just felt like I didn't have the reps. And then when I was coming up to Auckland, I know that you guys love Guardian, and I'd just come second
Hey,
on
mate,
Prism.
I personally hate it, bro. Like,
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Yeah.
I'm just a monk ninja
Well,
player.
I've been joking for a while now that I was a Dorinthia main, and I didn't actually quit that deck because of the Prism matchup. It was a showstopper matchup, eh? And I've been getting my revenge on all the Guardian players with Prism, because goddamn, it felt so
Yeah,
bad to
I
play
think
against them.
I think we
So,
might have to call this weekend like the revenge tour. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you took out the guy in the finals. You're taking out these pesky Guardian players.
Yeah, I joked to Matt Rogers after I beat him on day one. Last time,
Subtle flex.
well, it's not. I drew better than he did, but I well, one he went 5-0 against Prism on day two of the PT, and so the first thing I said was like, how do I line up into the other Prisms? But last time we were up for the Proquest, I came up with my teammates Jaden and Jack, and they were both on Cutson.
Boys, yeah.
And they both had excellent days, day two. They were going really well. And then one of them got knocked out by Matt on Oldham. unwinnable matchup, and then the next round the other one did.
Nah, bro,
And so
beyond unwinnable.
I'm just getting revenge for
The boys.
those two games
Yeah.
knocking my boys out. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I mean. I don't think I need revenge on Auckland Day.
No, bro. We need to get the revenge on you, bro.
Yeah. Well,
We'll be coming down for the some road to Nats, bro. We'll be bringing the goons.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of Auckland players have come second to Prisms recently, eh?
Yeah.
Wellington Prism players. I will say like the Wellington talent pool is really deep. I wouldn't even rate myself as one of the best in Wellington, but we're really lucky because
I'm gonna put you on the spot right now. You're top 5 in Wellington.
Oh, I appreciate that. Right, I mean, like it's not a dick measuring contest, but I do appreciate that. I really do. But like it's awesome that like Wellington. Because all the good players they come out to Armory. Like I learned so much about Prism from Nick Holding, and I learned how to play the chain matchup from
the reigning national champ, by the way.
From JTS, who was the best chain player I've ever played against.
The boy, he's okay.
Yeah, he's fine.
He's alright.
Yeah, and then so I've just I think that Auckland clearly has some of the best players in the country, but I think our real advantage is that we all the good Wellington players show up to Armory almost every week, and we share tech, and we test with each other, and it's just I think it's like a really good place to improve as Wellington, because everyone is really good, and everyone's keen to play and improve, and like they play seriously. None of this
awesome,
meme armory shit. So I'm just really happy to rep Wellington this weekend, honestly.
Yeah, that's awesome, because in Auckland, we kind of just have, people kind of keep to themselves and their testing groups, and like people just sandbag at armories. I mean, Matt Rogers barely plays seriously at armories. If he does enter, he's just testing with Nick.
Yeah.
Kale just comes on Guardian, and it's like, we already know that you're on Guardian.
Yeah, and like. I just feel like everyone in Wellington goes to the armories and plays their heart out, and you're probably likely at a Somers Games armory to look around the room and half the players have a PTI. It's just a really great place to improve, and I'm really happy that I can play in Wellington.
So you love the the thrill of just playing the high level fab. None of this.
Yeah. There's not like. That's why I travel to Auckland. There's I think I travel for events a lot more than most other players do. I'm always up driving to the road to Nats and flying to everywhere.
Man, I swear you're at more Auckland events than me.
Yeah, if there's a road to Nats season, I'm up there, eh? Like fuck work, whatever. Because I just there's nothing like playing the day. Yeah, it's just such a good vibe when everything's on the table. You have your deck, they have theirs, and you're both absolutely playing your heart out. There's nothing like it.
Yeah. You won't be coming to the Road to Nats next weekend, right? Or will
There's
you?
a Road to Nats next weekend.
Yeah, man. It's
I haven't even been paying attention.
It's the second Auckland one. I think they were they were supposed to be a double header, but I think something went wrong.
Wait, is it this weekend with the Proquest?
Yeah, man. West City card merchant Proquest.
Oh crap! I've taken too much time off work already. Maybe I'll be up the weekend after that, because I have some gold foil money to spend now.
What's the weekend after that? What's that?
I don't know. I'll definitely be making an effort to go to as many Road to Nats as possible.
I mean, we're not far away from the Road to Nats season.
Yeah, especially. Oh, you mean the Proquest? You said the Road to Nats next weekend.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
no,
I thought
bad.
you meant Road to Nats, and I'm like, oh my god, is it Road to Nats season already?
No, it's just another Proquest.
Honestly, bro, if I didn't win this weekend, I'd probably be up there. But now I need to save some money for fun.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're gonna be going to France?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said it before, I was really last Proquest season was really brutal for me, because I thought I was playing really good fair, but I was on Bolton. It was like it was just really shit, and I really wanted to go to Pro Tour 1, like, and I was like 50 points off on like
Oh,
50
that
ranks off on both lifetime and 90-day, and I like for some reason I decided Bolton was a good call. You know, I'm a Warrior stan, but it was like really brutal. And like I finished my last focus of that season, and I knew I wouldn't go to New Jersey, and I was just gutted. And I was like, from then on, I'm gonna play a deck that actually has my back. You know, like that will carry me through misplays
don't. Yeah.
and bad matchups and whatever. Just because it's really strong. You know, that's definitely why I picked up Prism.
Okay.
Um,
Do you think that Prism? Do you think Prism is a problem hero as it is now, or do you think it's fine?
I'll be honest. Before this weekend, I would have said it's totally fine. But it felt a lot of my draws felt really impressive this weekend. Like she has just such a strong proactive plan, which just so many decks find really hard to interact with. Like I wouldn't say she's bad for the meta. I think she's really important for the meta because like she has this great spot of like smash and control decks and then really struggling into aggro decks.
Yeah.
But I just think that like the way she inherently plays is pretty uninteractive. You know, like getting to pop overs is nice, but I mean, I think she was a much fairer deck before the blue auras, but the blue auras are really broken.
What do you think about the Blue Ores makes them, so good? Is it just the fact that they block, or is it the fact that they
Oh,
have decent effects as well, or is it just a combination
yeah.
of everything that they're blue, they block, and they have good effects?
Well, the fact that they're blue is just crazy to me because like blue cards are really good in this deck. It's a really pitch hungry deck, and you get to play these incredible power cards that are also at blue. But
Yeah,
I think the main thing is that like you had to put so much work in the past to play more than one aura a turn, and when
yeah,
you're playing multiple auras, it means that they could most decks can only pop one at a time. And
yeah,
so if you're playing multiple auras, you're getting a hit on board set. So like the classic old Prism game plans was to build shields and like consistently play out an aura, because then like the Guardian players would have to attack the aura,
yeah.
and you'd keep this massive board of shields. But you just don't need to do that anymore. Like you can have 10 like actual card auras in play, or some crazy shit, because like I mean, because you just they're so like playing multiple of them is just really strong. So like sometimes Pierce Reality or Passing Mirage, depending on the matchup, have like are basically blank boxes, and they're still incredible because you can just play them out like with a yellow aura and just absolutely like start to take control of the game state. Like and especially haze bending, which
Haze
just
bending's
like
crazy, right?
they just fall so far behind on board state so quickly. Like I played a lot of Blitz Prism before moving on to CC,
Yeah,
and like haze bending was really strong, but I also think Shimmers is just ridiculous. Like
yeah,
it's like it's the most like it's really underrated, I think, because like it just like the ability to block your whole hand and get value off Shimmers just means that it eventually has to be answered. So no matter the life total, Shimmers is just incredible. Like haze bending really falls off when you're under like 15-10 life, because they don't have to pop auras, like especially like Genesis falls off as well. But Merciful is but Shimmers is just always a must answer threat because it will eventually go to a point where it's just out of control. But yeah, like those are the two like really powerful auras. But obviously, like passing is cracked in the Guardian matchups, and then
Which one is passing? Sorry, is that the
passing
one where
is
they lose
no,
Phantasm?
no Phantasm, and then
Yeah,
Pierce, which is the +2,
plus two. Yeah,
is just incredible into any deck without a number of pops, because it just allows for massive swing turns off erudition, like into Lexi and Katsu. Pierce is so busted because you just, even if you're falling way behind on life, if you're building a board state and you have a Pierce, you find a single erudition and the life totals are immediately even. You just have one turn and you just even life totals.
yeah. Because Katsu,
Yeah,
unless it draws like one of the three CNCs, it just does not have an
yeah.
answer for
It just does not.
erudition.
And I actually think that into my like aura heavy list, Katsu shouldn't be running CNC. Like Jack talked about it last week or whatever on here.
Yeah,
Um,
they just
I was the one who tested with him to get it him to cut CNC
Because
because
you just
it's
throw
like
out the Arsenal aura, eh?
yeah. Well, they would just like the play pattern was like they would hold CNC for like so many turns because I just wasn't playing heroes. Like I would just play out my as soon as they hold a card, like from one turn to the next, I know it's a CNC. Like
Yeah.
especially if they don't Arsenal,
They
right?
don't Arsenal,
It's
yeah.
just so obvious, and so I'll just play out auras and not herald, and they're losing heaps of value from not playing the CNC out because I don't need to play heralds to advance my game plan. I mean, playing heralds is nice, but you really don't need to. You can just play your auras out, and then essentially they're playing like usually what will happen is like that will happen for one turn. I'll notice it's there, and then like for another turn they'll play a 3 card hand because they won't play out their CNC, and then they'll get sick of my shit. They'll play the CNC, and then I'll play my yellow or out from Arsenal, and they just lose the game. Like it was just so like I found it so like unbelievably bad
Yeah.
in that matchup. It was because
Honestly,
yeah
like, I don't. If I was to build a Katsu deck for ProQuest right now, I don't even think CNC makes like the cut,
yeah
just
yeah
because just because of how good, if I'm making a deck, I'm making it to try and beat Starvo's
yeah
Prism and Runeblades, and
yeah
2 out of 3 of those matchups, like CNC is just bad. Like
yeah
you don't
yeah
want to play CNC against like seeds. Not too good against chain either. I mean, like yeah, you can kind of
I
get
mean
the husk block, but
CNC was such an important card when Viserai was in the format, but
yeah,
like now I think that like Chain is really resilient to losing an Arsenal most of the time, just because he has so many cards to play already.
yeah,
And then it's pretty good as a buyer, I guess, but she's not even the best room late. So like
nah,
like a lot of Prism players are still on CNC and they play it in the mirror, and it just shocks me because I'll just play out my hero turns and my aura turns and they'll just be waste the CNC will just be wasting away because as soon as you as soon like I knew the card was like bad in the matchup when Jack was forced to play a CNC out into my aura because
just to get rid of it
he
from the
would just
arsenal
lose
or
it. Yeah, he
something.
would just lose. Well, yeah, like that was an Arsenal one, but like it's an unarsenalable card. It's in my opinion, like you can I was testing Bolton with it, and like Bolton has some other pops, so it's not as bad to side it out. But like I just found it so unplayable. Like it was in my hand, and if they weren't attacking me, you just can't cast it because otherwise they'll just play the yellow aura out, and like that's almost a game loss right there. Like you just lose so much like value and tempo. Like it's really huge.
So, what is your overall feeling about the meta currently post the most recent ban list? Do you think the game's in like a healthy position or?
Yeah, I don't. That's an interesting question, eh? Because I was watching just last night, like the Prism Ultim game, like the final of New Zealand Nats, and I
Yeah,
was like, this is like a much more fair game. Like Prism isn't really like my favorite deck, just
yeah,
because I hate that she creates these like you're either so far ahead you can't lose or you're unbelievably dead, right? I love close games of Fab, and I don't think this meta like creates close games of Fab very often. Like
not as
my,
much compared to the previous formats.
yeah,
So
yeah. Well, previous formats, like I used to be like really amazed when I was a newer player about how often the game would come down to one life.
yeah,
Like I'm like, this game is so well designed. Like
it's what draws like new
they're so
players in.
it's so
Yeah,
balanced that like the game is we're at one life each. It's unbelievable, right? Like like I was always amazed by that, and like, I just haven't found that very often recently. But I think the meta's fine. Like post Starvo ban, I think it will be good too. Like even before Uprising, if Star Wars banned now, I think the meta would be pretty interesting. It'd be this interesting like, can Ultim figure out a way to beat Prism? Can Prism find out a way to beat Chain? I think Prism would be pretty broken, but yeah, I do think that like um, I think the meta's fine. Like it's fairly balanced. Like Starvo is definitely the best deck, but he's not unbeatable. And like Chain is excellent, and Prism is excellent. So yeah, I'm not like hating on the format, but I do wish we'd have closer games. I think that it's the format's balanced, but it's not. It doesn't create the best
It's
games
not as
that I've ever played.
interesting.
Yeah,
You kind of
yeah. It does yeah. Most of like your it's like not very interactive. Like it's a very no blocks meta. Um,
yeah.
the Oldham Salvo matchup's pretty interesting, but Oldham's pretty unplayable as long as Prism exists. So like, it's just it's. I feel like most of the decision points that each player has to make only really concern themselves and their own deck. Like Chain isn't a like just needs to figure out how to play their own turns the best, and Prism is the same, and Starvo is the same, and they're largely just trying to do their own thing the best rather than like this really interactive back and forth game, which yeah, it is my opinion the best way to play Fab.
Yeah, I mean, it can definitely feel like an interactive game when or Prism's just doing their own thing, Starvo's just doing these attacks that you really have no control over. Like, if they just draw the elements, like, there's not much you can do about
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Chain
exactly
kind of
right.
just plays solitaire for a couple minutes doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it was like the gaming, like the best game I had all weekend was against CJ in the quarterfinal,
Yeah.
and like he was the only one playing the game. Well, I mean, I wouldn't
Yeah.
say that's true, but like I never had a proactive strategy, or like it was literally just both of us figuring out what his turn would be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember pre-game you were saying like when you do the shackles, do all but one.
yeah,
Was that a
that's bullshit. I never play Sentinel. I just like being able to bluff it every turn. Like,
so?
honestly, I've never played a Sentinel in response to a shackle because they're always going to play a non-attack or shackle before an attack. So
Yeah,
I literally just do that so that I can sit there and think for like 5 minutes
just
or
get
whatever, or
another
whatever, just to make them think that I have this.
another way to just stay in the tank. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. Well,
untimed
say,
game, you
and
just
like
chill.
even if I have the Sentinel, I'm thinking about when in the turn I'm going to play the Sentinel, not if I'm going to play it now. But it just
Yeah,
means that I found this with singing Steelblade a lot. Um, they would always know I had the singing because I pick up my graveyard to look for what attack
what's
reactions are
left?
left.
Yeah,
And Arclight's really obvious. Like they play one non-attack, and you're like, give me a minute, and it's like, okay, yeah, I guess you have an Arclight. So I would just like do that every turn, so that they would never know if I had the Arclight or not. But yeah, I've never responded to a shackle with an Arclight.
and you're never planning to.
Uh, I mean, I can imagine a world like I guess if they have a Shadow Aversa or something, and I have to read them because I don't want to be like punished by them attacking me. But Shadow's only for two. Like I don't think I ever will. But I'm never gonna stop saying, "Let me
Yeah, I
respond to
mean,
the last shackle," because yeah.
your secret's exposed now,
Oh
buddy.
no, no, but like it doesn't matter, right? Because if I'm spending 5 minutes figuring out when I'm gonna play the scene, or even just like sometimes I would just be sitting there not thinking about anything.
Just thinking
Like
about what you're gonna have for
yeah,
dinner.
what I'm gonna have for dinner, when this match is gonna be over,
You
Uh,
know.
then like um, they still have no read on my Sentinel because I just like I was getting really frustrated because it was just so obvious when I had sent, and so I was like, I'm just gonna fucking bluff it like no tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to touch base. Before you were saying that you were thinking about playing Briar, you wanted to play Briar, and you were mentioning that you didn't think it would be a good medical. Do you just want to explain like maybe some of the biggest differences between Wellington and Auckland like meta is?
We are far more aggressive based. Like half of our field is Prism. Like we love Prism. I mean, Nick Holding, the Prism Messiah,
Yeah.
teaches us all Prism, and so we all pick it up and play it. And so it's a terrible field for Guardian. You can't play Oldham there, and no one really likes to play Starvo there, even though Starvo does have a chance in the Prism. Right,
Is that
so
kind of like a gentleman's agreement? Like, oh, don't play Starvo, it's cracked.
kind of yeah, like it was funny. I knew there was the Serb Proquest a couple of weeks ago, and I knew there'd be no Starvo there because only Karshan Rayo plays Starvo in Wellington, and he was at the Pro Tour.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
yeah,
Yeah.
and there was zero Starvo at that
No
event. So
Starvo zone.
it's like kind of a gentleman's agreement, but also like if you're gonna play Starvo and you're not like Matt Rogers tier, you're just gonna get pummeled constantly by like the 50% of the meta that's Prism.
Yeah.
So like we have a much more aggressive meta rate. We have a lot of the Lexi Mafia down there. Spent a long time trying to figure out how to beat Prism. And then but we have a lot of Boomblade players, and I just thought that I could play Briar because like the Prism mirror it is mostly a coin flip and who has a better deck for the matchup. And
Okay.
I don't like that. Like I like being able to have more control over it. So I was like, if I play Briar, I could potentially race other Briars and chains, and then stomp every Prism I see. And I say it was a bit of medical because at sushi night I had to work through two Briars to get to the top eight, and I think that Briars are very good. Is very good into Prism. Even some of the best Prism players haven't really
Yeah,
there are ways, but it's like
I,
yeah.
I kind of felt the same. That's kind of why I played it. I was expecting a lot more prisms, but man, like I got there, there was no Mr. President, no Jason Lai. I mean, I was just shocked.
Yeah,
But
yeah, there were less Prism than I was expecting,
yeah,
but I also knew that if I played Prism in that field, I would see almost every other Prism at top table because we'd beat the Guardians, and so I did tick hard for the mirror. But yeah, but I would be a hard one to take in that field because
no, bro, it was.
you'd see, you'd see an Oldhim or a chain, and then
Yeah,
your chances of seeing the Prisms who have been crushing the other Guardians would just go lower and lower. You know.
yeah. I'm not playing Briar again this weekend. I've actually trying to get something spicy together, hoping
Oh,
to.
be little Katsu, rip the Jack whip.
Jack's coming up. He's going to be staying with me for a couple of days.
Oh man, yeah.
So we're going to be getting a lot of testing in. Me, him, and Bewley, we're entering the team blitz.
Yeah,
The team
yeah,
mask mandates. I haven't really played much blitz. I've been playing a little bit with some of the LSS boys, just helping them get ready for a little project. I was watching some of Arsenal Pass playing some blitz today.
I watched a bit of that at work, eh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, yeah,
I kind of just like Reinhardt because of how easy it is to just cheese 20 damage in that format.
yeah. Fuck, Prism would be so good in Blitz if it wasn't for Rhino, eh? She crushes Kano, she crushes Kasai, and she crushes Oldhim. That was my math when I decided to play Prism last skirmish season. But I mean, obviously, Viserai was broken that format. But yeah, right. And Prism
Yeah.
doesn't go fast enough. But yeah,
Are you planning on heading to Sydney for some team blitz?
I would go if it wasn't Team Blitz. Say, I'm just
Yeah,
yeah,
nah, not big
my,
on it.
my teammates are pretty low on funds, and
Okay.
Blitz isn't really my game. I'm a CC player.
Yeah, I feel that. Even though I got more success in blitz, I just no, I love
but
CC.
but you play
Live and
Blitz
die
in
by it.
the Ira mirror meta. That's basically CC, right?
I don't know, man. My deck was just built better than everyone else's, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can't like the one thing I do like about Blitz is deck building is you gotta build for
Yeah,
everything.
it's got to be so tight, eh?
Yeah,
I
that's the one thing I liked.
I mean,
about.
I said this weekend, just before that, I had the fractals, day two, even though I knew they were shit. If you play two cards you know are shit in Blitz, you'll see them every game and lose, right?
Yeah.
yeah, it's really bad.
It's easy to find out in Blitz what you don't want to have in the
Yeah,
deck.
yeah, it's an interesting deck building challenge for sure. But CC is my format. It's been for a long time, so I yeah, not too keen on Sydney, but very keen on France. I love limited, so
You just go
I'm hyped
there
as
and
well.
get rolled by someone teaming up with the LSS staff. That you're allowed one LSS staff per team. You just
Oh
get
shit!
rolled.
Yeah, yeah. Did they make that rule just because some LSS people wanted to play?
I don't know why. I just remember reading about it. I can't say too much. But this I know they got something going on.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's right. That's right. Eh?
Yeah, I heard there was an LSS team.
Oh man, no, you can't have that.
Yeah,
That'd be a
they
riot.
just win, right? Yeah,
Yeah, we because of the officers in Auckland, bro. All our the skirmishes when Monarch first came out, the LSS staff just came down and just rolled everyone in
yeah,
seal. 'Cause
I heard about that.
we had no idea what was going on, and these guys were just doing these broken glisten combos. And
Yeah. Oh yeah. I once played Prism. I played Prism in one Monarch sealed skirmish, and I got Leviathan round one, and then I went and lost, and then I went undefeated until the last round, round six. Um, beating another Levi to get there, and then I played against the Prism with Phantasmal Footsteps, who
Oh,
resolved the Prismatic Shield on turn 0 after popping one of my heralds, and
oh, wow.
then
Yep.
glisten the Prismatic Shield on their turn. And I never lost that.
Yep. Might as well
Fuck.
just extend the hand at that
Yeah,
point.
glisten, what a card. What a
Yeah.
card.
Well, man, it's nearly been an hour. We'll try to wrap things up.
Yeah,
Just
all
one
good.
more question for anyone who's managed to stick around us just rambling on. If someone was to pick up Prism and you could only offer them one solid piece of advice, what would that have to be?
I'd say like really rate your own proactive plan. Like so many decks really struggle in dealing with it. So like, aside from Briar and Chain specifically, even decks like Katsu, just don't value your life total. Use it as a resource
Yeah.
because if you get your proactive auras out, like as soon as you have a big board, one proactive scent or erudition will just win you the game. So don't worry too much about life totals or what your opponent is doing even. Just play your plan, learn how to play it really well, and then you'll be fine. Yeah.
All right, man. I appreciate you coming on, giving me, an hour out of your night.
No worries, bro. I love talking about Fab, so it's good to come on.
Yeah, man. Look forward to playing you in some events. Maybe I can put Auckland on my back, get some payback. But
Oh yeah, we'll see, we'll see. I think
you got a big
Wellington is.
target on you now.
I think Wellington is locked for Nats this year. I don't think it will be me, but Wellingtonian will win.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are probably going to get Nats again, eh?
Yeah, for sure. Like, no shot. We don't like your best players are better than us, but we have so many more good players than you do.
Damn, we might have to work out some, like
Some
intercity.
Auckland testing group or intercity championship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe like 3v3.
Yeah. Oh, well, I probably wouldn't make the team then.
Oh man, surely you and T2 have like all the bragging rights now.
Yeah. I was thinking, like, I'm pretty humble. I don't think I'm great at this game, but 15-1 on the weekend is like a Nats winning result. Hey, like,
Yeah, man.
that's
I
pretty
mean,
sick.
it's definitely just winning one Proquest, man, is an incredible feat. But winning back to back, not 1 weekend and then 1 weekend back to back,
Yeah,
night back to night.
I think it was just because like after the first day I was chill. Like
Yeah.
I was like I didn't care much about the results, so
I
I
mean,
could just focus on the play.
you got the gold snapdragon. That's like the grail. You got that day one, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, big game. I always I made a promise at the start of the season that if I won any gold foils, I'd open them. So
yeah, man.
I got to do it, and then I
These
got
cards are
rewarded.
made
So.
for being opened, eh?
Yeah, made for being open day. Yeah,
Alright. Well, yeah, once again, man, it was really great having you on here. And
yeah.
I
Awesome
appreciate,
to chat, bro.
the inside info at your deck and the weekend. But yeah,
No
man.
worries.
Alright,
Yeah.
cheers. Until next time. Catch you,
See you
dude.
later.
See you, man.